Hello, you guys. Good morning. How do you miss me? I don't miss you. I'm joking. I miss you a whole lot. And that's why we have this great class for you today. Okay? We're going to talk about a text genre called history article. So let's start talking about these slides. Okay? Do you remember this big boat? It's actually a ship. Titanic. Why do you think I put Titanic here? The idea is that we're going to talk about a big event in the past, which was the sinking of Titanic, for example. So history article is a kind of genre that talks about an event in the past that was important for humankind or even from your personal perspective, but it happened in the past, okay? So check this image there. This is a film poster, great movie called 1917, and it tells about World War I. So why is it a historical movie? Because it talks about some event in the past. A history article tells about real events in the past, and they are informative and present information on a topic or event. When we say that a text is informative, what I'm trying to tell you is you don't read it only for the fun of reading it. It actually is there to teach you about stuff you don't know or that you were, reading about again. Do you know this guy in the slides? Remember King Tut? We talked about him in class. He was a king in ancient Egypt, found out by a guy called Howard Carter. Remember Howard Carter? Indiana Jones, we talked about it. So when you're reading a history article, you are going to find facts, verbs in the past, because they talk about the past, dates, places, and names. Okay, remember this. Dates, places, and names. So before we start reading a real history article, we are going to watch this movie about King Tut so that you have an idea of what a historical documentary or a historical text looks like.
Undisturbed for millennia, nearly forgotten by history, it was only chance that brought Tutankhamun, commonly known as King Tut, to modern fame. In 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered Tutankhamun's tomb. It was the best preserved pharaoh's tomb ever to be discovered, basically untouched by the tomb robbers who emptied most others of their treasures. The artifacts inside gave a never-before-seen look into the life and death of an Egyptian pharaoh and sparked new curiosity about King Tut, a ruler lost to time. He was born as Tutankhaten more than 3,000 years ago, about 1341 BC, the son of the pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a controversial pharaoh. He made many changes to the religion of ancient Egypt, including switching from worshipping many gods to worshipping only Aten, the sun, and moving the capital city from Thebes to a new city at Amarna, which he built. Akhenaten died when Tut was very young, and Tut became the pharaoh at the age of 9. With the help of powerful advisors, young Tut reversed all of his father's changes and even changed his name to Tutankhamun, to show that he was ending the time when Aten was worshipped as the one god. King Tut was not very healthy and may have had to walk with a cane. This was probably partially because his parents were brother and sister, something that was common for royal marriages in ancient Egypt. When he became pharaoh, Tut married his half-sister, Ankhesenamun. Together, they had 2 daughters, but both of them died before they could even be born. The pharaoh Tutankhamun died when he was only about 19 years old. The exact cause of his death is a mystery, but archaeologists believe that he may have died from an injury or an infection. However he died, it was unexpected for a pharaoh to die so young, and his tomb was probably not complete. This would have forced Tut to be buried in a tomb intended for someone else. Tutankhamun was mummified and buried in a sarcophagus holding 3 nested coffins, each smaller than the next. Inside the last coffin was a beautiful golden mask inlaid with glass and gemstones, as well as many other detailed and valuable artifacts decorating his mummy. His sarcophagus was surrounded by 4 elaborate shrines, and his tomb was filled from top to bottom with thousands and thousands of items and artifacts that the Egyptians believed King Tut would need for his journey to the afterlife. After the tomb was sealed, it was robbed at least twice, but only a little was taken, and then it appears to have been forgotten. Rubble and stone debris from building other tombs higher on the hill buried the entrance, protecting it from thieves, and it lay untouched for over 3,000 years. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, archaeologists began to excavate and explore the tombs and ruins of ancient Egypt. Howard Carter, an English archaeologist, was among the people digging there. He discovered the tombs of several pharaohs.
You missed this, didn't you? Okay, keep going with the movie.
In the Valley of the Kings, but all had been robbed of their contents many years before. In November of 1922, Carter and his team discovered the entrance to Tutankhamun's tomb. They made a small opening, and Carter was able to look inside. The people who were with him asked if he could see anything inside, and Carter answered, "Yes, wonderful things." When the tomb was opened completely, they could see many artifacts and items inside. More than 5,000 items were found in Tut's tomb, and each needed to be removed, cataloged, described, photographed, and shipped to the Cairo Museum, a process that took 10 years. The discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun made news headlines worldwide, and the artifacts that were inside it have traveled to museums around the globe to be seen by millions of people. Tutankhamun, a pharaoh who ruled for only 10 years, 3,000 years ago, has become one of the most famous pharaohs in history because of the amazing treasures he had buried with him, treasures that were incredibly intact when they were discovered in 1922. I hope you enjoyed learning about the pharaoh Tutankhamun today and seeing some of his fabulous treasure. Goodbye.
So did you like the video? I hope you did like it, because I did like it. It's pretty awesome, right? You learned about Howard Carter finding Tutankhamun in 1922, and you learned a lot about how the tomb was, the tomb's state back then, and what was found in, and why is it so important. So let's have a look up, at what a text, a historical article text would look like. So first thing we have here is a timeline. You see, guys, this is very important. A timeline is a way of organizing the series of events that happened during that historical moment, or that were exactly that historical moment. So here we have Howard Carter's timeline. And as you can read, he started digging in 1917 after World War I ended. Remember the movie I showed you? It was right after that time. Not the movie poster. After the first year, they found nothing. 1920, he found the little jars, a few jars, alabaster jars. 1921, no important discoveries. They were going afraid, they were wasting money. Everybody was sick and tired. But in 1922, the water boy finds the steps of King Tut's tomb, and Howard Carter, like you saw in the movie, looked through a little opening on the door, and he said he could see amazing things. And that's how they found King Tut's tomb. So this is a text. I'm going to read it for you. Howard Carter started looking for an ancient Egyptian tomb in 1917. He found many things, but nothing really special, because everything got Egypt. This is wrong, people. Everything got robbed before he could see it. Cut these out. Finally, 1922, he found King Tut's tomb, and it is the biggest archaeological discovery ever made because the tomb was intact. Intact means it was never visited by anybody. It was possible to learn a lot of things about ancient Egypt and Egyptians because of Howard Carter. Remember what I told you about historical articles? What make the text? Facts, verbs in the past, names, places, and dates. So check it out. We have a name, Howard Carter. Egypt, too, is a name. We have dates, 1917, 1922. Actually, Egypt is a place, people. It's the name of a place, right? You have King Tut, is also somebody's name. You have lots of verbs in the past. Can you see some? Started, found, robbed, got, found again, was. So you have plenty of verbs in the past. Okay, so this is our class for today. Keep in mind, teacher Ale and I are going to make available for you a sheet of paper where you are going to write a history article about the Titanic. We are nice. We're gonna give you a timeline about the events that happened during the Titanic's short life, and then you're going to write about it. Remember, you need names, dates, places. You need verbs in the past. You don't need adjectives. You're talking about facts. You are informing. If you use adjectives, describe things that are without a doubt true. For example, Titanic was the biggest ship at its time. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. Okay? So, this is it. It was nice seeing you today. Stay safe and study hard, okay, you guys? Bye-bye. See ya.